Hello, welcome to our third episode of Overkill with me, Theresa Hong. And once again, thank you so much for the partisan. I'm here again, strong libations, very, very liberal pour. Thank you so much, partisan, for letting us come here every week to film this. We really, really appreciate it. And shout out to the bartendress, Theresa. So today I have a very special guest with me. Very, very, very special guest. Somebody that I love dearly and was really one of the first people that I met when I came to Merced. Flip Hassett from the United Way, Merced. Thank you so much for joining me.
You're very welcome. It's fun.
Thank you.
And cheers.
Cheers. Absolutely. Yeah. I kind of had to twist your arm a little bit.
You did, but that's okay. What has she gotten me into?
Yeah, you'll see. You'll see. No, I'm so happy that you decided to come on, and I just kind of wanted to talk to you first about United Way Merced.
Okay.
And then we'll get to this is really great stuff now, but we'll get to the juicy flip side.
Okay.
So you've been the executive director for 6 years, right?
Yes.
Yes. And when you first inherited it, how have the goals changed from then to now? How has the community changed? What has, what impact has really, what have you seen most change with the United Way and with the community?
Well, I think one, we've grown United Way. We started actually back in the old KYOS building back over there on the corner of 18th and G Street with the old Thunderbird, and very small. There were two of us at that time. And at that point in time, I didn't know if I was going to get a paycheck on a weekly. They never told me that when I took the job. But we've grown tremendously. I actually now have 12 employees. So I'm a business generator. I'm an economic generator in this town.
Absolutely.
Which I feel good with. I've got 12 amazing people in my team. And we actually now are over in the Schaefer building. And no, it's a Thornton building.
It's
and
beautiful.
That's there in the corner of N Street and right across from the Multicultural Arts Center.
And several others are housed under the United Way in that office building, correct?
Yeah, we have Crop, but they're all my employees.
Right.
And so we just have programs. So Claudia Corshado works there in Crop, and that's a health initiative. And then I've got 4 of the girls that are with the endowment process, which is building healthy communities. And they deal with South Merced, Planada, LeGrand, and Beechwood Franklin area. And they're doing a lot of work. And we really, I think, dramatically changed from just being a pass-through. In other words, see us once a year. Hi, give me your money. I'll come back in a year.
Here's a golf tournament.
Yeah, and that was it. And that's crazy because that's not the way we build community. And so we have really taken on the focus that we need to build relationships in this community and start getting everybody to come together. And it's a long haul, and it's actually a daily journey that you have to take. It's ongoing. We'll never stop.
It's your baby.
But it is. I love this community. I've been here since '63.
Wow.
And my dad was Air Force. That's how a lot of people got here. And so I'm an Air Force brat.
Yes.
Proud of it.
Yes, and you decided to stay.
I did, and I married a local girl, Kathy, who used to be Riggs.
She's wonderful.
And she actually, I was very blessed and very lucky.
Yes.
Because she can, she just stay and just kind of roll her eyes when I'm doing things. But I am very proud of United Way for what it's done. It's because of the efforts of not only my board letting me do the things to grow, but also bringing in the people that I needed. So we're actually doing lots of things in this community which we never did before.
Yeah, and that's what's so interesting. 6 years ago, I can imagine, and you tell me, I would think that the initiatives, even the demographic, everything was a little bit different than it is now. Tell me what challenges are different now as opposed to 6 years ago, or even 10 years ago, or even 20 years ago.
Well, I mean, we've gone from a very sleepy little town, and we've gotten bigger. I think the impacts of the economy have certainly been devastating to some extent. We actually have now the power base is changing, I think, dramatically, and I think for the good. No one likes to give power up, but I think when they do, they'll find that they actually get more back.
Absolutely.
But that's a hard concept to kind of understand. I think we're starting to see a lot more pushback from the community, which I really appreciate when we have our elected leaders make decisions either in the city or the county, is that shouldn't be sacred. That once they make that decision, that shouldn't be sacred. There needs to be an alignment with our community. So I've been a strong advocate of that, and I think that's really important.
You have been, and why do you think, in your opinion, and I think that you have been definitely in the forefront of this, but why do you think there's so much more community action and community initiative, especially I'd say within the last probably 2-3 years? It's really, it's grown a substantial amount.
I think what's happening, it's almost like this convergence. When you talk to people individually, their frustrations, if you really frame it right, are pretty much the same. They feel unempowered. They don't feel like they're connected to making decisions that are best for the community. And we really put way too much pressure, I think, on elected officials to say, come up with the answer. That is not what we want to do. But I'm seeing that more and more with different groups, the fact that they're saying that I need to be part of this process. And I think that is hugely healthy. And you're starting to get now people who are talking from even different ethnic groups, different social economic groups are saying the same thing. And that's really nice for me. What we need to do is make building those relationships, because we're all in this together. I can't believe that in all the discussions I've had, there's never a parent that wants the worst for their child.
Of course not.
And that being the case, why aren't we having some common good and common goals? And that's, I think, what's going to come next is some common visioning of what we want this community to look like.
And what are you doing right now? I know that you're spearheading some initiatives that focus on that. So tell me a little bit what you're doing now.
Really fun, because we certainly do a lot with and work as fiscal agents sometimes for many of the initiatives going on. ComVIP was one of the initial ones, and that's Community Violence Intervention Program.
Great.
A lot of the institutions and city and county are involved with that. The BEAM, which is another one, which is Business Education Alliance in Merced County, Merced Ahead. A lot of people who are actually starting to come to the table and start talking about it, and even though they're in different groups right now, they're really talking about the same things, and I can actually frame those into 3 initiatives which we really push. Health, huge impact right here, an epidemic in our valley and in this community on obesity and diabetes. Why aren't we doing more? Because we need to look at prevention, not the after fact. The other is education, which I think is probably one of the top 2 in conversation, is what can we do to make our children more successful in school? We have a dropout rate of maybe 20-some-odd%,
right.
25%. It's crazy. We're losing so many assets in our community that could be very beneficial for us, and we're losing them. Well, we need to question the system, and I want to question the system. And there's people in that system. You know, we always blame it's the parents, or it's the kids, or it's the teachers, or it's the administrators. No, the people are all well intended. It's a system we've established that has totally put people against each other.
Right.
We need to break it, and I'm a strong advocate of that. And to do that, we have to create a safe space that just have a dialogue and not just put a blame, but say, how do we make this better?
Right.
And that's a hard thing to do, because that's a tough system to break into sometimes. And then the last one, of course, is income or financial stability, economic development.
Which kind of goes with education.
Yep.
And health.
They all come together. But I can
do.
frame almost anything if we do initiatives into those 3 areas.
Right.
We're actually already started with the financial stability and economic income impact. We actually did a VITA, which is Volunteers and Tax Assistance. And last year we brought in Theresa Hong, who's the program manager for that. Their program actually brought in $700,000 to poor people, right in their pockets. Because we did free income service for people that qualified economically, and they had qualified for $700,000. The multiplier of that is 4.5, so well over $3 million came back and helped this community.
And does the business side of Merced understand the importance of that, with almost, they're kind of like stimulus packages in a way. You're giving these incentives to people that really they don't have any money, or they're poor, and they are putting it back into the economy, and they are purchasing from Joe, or they are going here. Are businesses starting to understand that, or are they,
It's been a real tough denial issue for a long time in the business community, is that they didn't have to deal with the social issues. It was just business, and this is profit and return. Well, the reality is that if businesses think they can remain unscathed while the rest of their community is crumbling behind them, they're not going to have customers.
Right.
And if you don't have customers, you're not going to have a business.
Right.
So I'm actually starting to see some of the private sector leaders starting to come to the table. Merced Ahead would be a classic example, to start talking about some of the things that we need to do to make this a stronger community and a more vibrant community. So they're starting to get it. That's a conversation that's going to have to keep being fanned.
Yes.
To make sure that people start getting that, is that we are responsible to look at, I mean, the homeless issue. Who wants a community where people are just lying on the sidewalks? But there are programs that can actually show whether it can get a reduction in homelessness, which is actually cost effective versus some of the programs that we actually throw at them right now. So that we just got to think smarter and start putting this together, and it can be done.
Yeah, and where does it, that you brought up an interesting point with the homelessness, where would that fit under the initiatives? Would that fit under health, business, economic? It's like all of the above, isn't it? So
yeah, I think what I would do, and I'd probably put it under health. The reason being is that the issues that many of the homeless population deal with can be either issues of mental health, could be addiction.
Right.
Certainly if you're not working and you're not feeling fulfilled, you're going to get a sense of hopelessness, which is probably depression. So to me that's a mental health issue, and I think mental health is something that we have for a long time really ignored, that we need to look at it, even what's our mental health in this community.
And I agree, and I think that the numbers would be very, very surprising just because of the high unemployment rate and the high dropout rate. And when you are sitting there alone and really thinking, there's really nothing for me to do, there's nothing for me out there, all I'm hearing is how depressed the economy is, and I can only imagine what that has done, especially for a community like Merced, where it really has been hit fairly hard.
Yeah, I guess what's amazing to me is our culture has been so bad about just labeling people.
Yes.
So immediately you're homeless, you're a drunk, you're retarded, you're disabled. I mean, we just come into labels. And yet in some of the conversations I've had with some of the people in the homeless population, some amazing artists, some amazing musicians, some people who write amazing poetry.
Some amazing scholars.
And so why aren't we looking at people's gifts? Because those gifts are what we build a community on. Because otherwise it becomes a deck of cards. If we always look at the weaknesses and denigrate our community and come up with programs to address the weakness, it's a house of cards. There's not a strong foundation.
Right.
So we need to start looking at people differently. You look at youth and we haven't involved them enough. Right. And they've got huge amounts of assets. I mean, I'm totally inept, as you well know, and I know your husband does, and you guys laugh at me all the time about flickering, tweetering.
Flickering, tweetering.
I mean, what the hell's that all about? You know, I don't do that. I want the eyeball to eyeball stuff. I'm an old guy. I'm a.
Oh, you're not that old. Come on.
But they have such amazing capacity to do things and teach us. But we got to let them in.
Yes.
And because eventually they're going to own this community, and they need to steward this community. So they need to be proud of this community.
Yes.
And if we just keep marginalizing, they're not going to learn what's so neat about this. I mean, when I had conversations with kids, what do they call this? What do you think? Merced. That's the first thing I hear. And I said, why do you say that? And he says, oh, there's nothing to do here. And I says, you're wrong. I can go anywhere, any night. I know there's things to do. And there's actually things that you guys could do. I said, you're boring because you want to be entertained. And I don't think anybody's ever talked to them that way. But it's important. There are so many things. And quite frankly, if we were to just give them the support to put things that they want to do together, everything from, just a band.
Concert in the park.
Absolutely. I went up to Mariposa and listened to the bands up there on Saturday night. I mean, those are all things that bring people in, and it also brings kids in. I mean, music and dance are probably the two most things I know that are universal.
Yeah, and I think that you are right, because I know that, Dan with the ARC was bringing a lot of teenagers in, and there was no drinking, there was no alcohol, there was no, drugs, and just kids having a good time playing, playing their instruments and bringing a lot of other kids in, and very peaceful.
Just jamming together.
Yeah.
And that's fun.
And it really was. And I know that he was not. Now, I do understand that, he wasn't necessarily permitted for that. And I understand that you need to follow through with all of that. But getting back to your point, to just this, I just got the sense because it involved kids, it just automatically got a bad rap, and they just kind of shut it down. And it's just, I agree with you. It's just, there's nothing stronger, I think, than music to teach math. There's nothing stronger to teach theory. There's nothing, and literature and art. And so I just feel like, when you kind of put these kids aside, cut educational programs aside like this, you really are robbing a whole generation of people that really, they have to take care of us.
Yeah.
And
Eventually.
yeah.
I've told my kids I really do.
Yeah.
It's important you get these life skills.
Right. And I don't know if that's going to be a possibility at this point, only because they're cutting all of these programs out. Kids are bored. They're dropping out of school because they don't have anything else better. They don't have anything that lights their fire.
Yeah.
And I'm glad that, I know that you're pushing for initiatives on that as well.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. I mean, I was very proud of this community when they pushed back on the city in terms of bringing the McNamara Pool Park back to existence, because that just shows you that the mindset for kids and understanding their development is not at the forefront.
Right.
And we need to go back and rethink our priorities.
Yes.
And so I love that pushback, and that's absolutely essential, because and they made the right decision. They came back and said, okay. They said, okay, we're going to do this. Mm-hmm. And that was appropriate because they were aligned then with the community. Mm-hmm. And that's what we need to be if we're really going to make some, I think, headway in terms of this process.
Well, and you've brought in, I admire and respect you in being, you really and truly are an entrepreneur. You're more of a business-minded person in a nonprofit world. And I believe that's why United Way of Merced has been so successful, is because you really have run it like a business, where I think other nonprofits, they just kind of get into that rut to where, oh, well, we're a nonprofit. And,
it's interesting. That's a great comment, because we are a business, and our business is developing our community, and we need to have a value that people appreciate to give us the money that they do. Thank God they do, because we can make differences, and we do. It's interesting, though, because when you talk to a lot of the old school nonprofits, they don't really like to talk about profit, or they don't want to talk about a return on investment. Well, it's an issue of money, and I don't quite have a handle on why that is, but for whatever reason, money can be a bad thing, and it's not. And so it's interesting when we have those discussions, because I absolutely believe in that triple bottom line, which is I need to be, as an organization, United Way, we need to have a return on our investment, which means I need to show a profit to make sure I'm having money to sustain myself. Right. Otherwise, I'm not going to be around. Then I need to be doing social good, which is the second bottom line, and I can certainly show many of the programs we have just done huge impacts to the city. And the third is that are we promoting the environmental concerns so that we're doing things in a green way. And I think that if you do that, you can't lose. And so how do we start looking at, in other words, when a new business comes into town, why aren't I or other nonprofits at the table interviewing that company and say, what are you going to do for our community? Fine, you're coming in and giving some jobs, but that's not enough. Well, what else are you going to do to participate in this community? And I think those are questions that need to be asked. Yes.
And how are you, I know you have got a lot of again, I keep on using initiatives, but you have a lot of initiatives up your sleeve into kind of incorporating all of that. But are you starting to work together to develop committees and be able to, okay, just like what you said, we understand you're bringing in jobs, we appreciate that, we need jobs, we like jobs.
You bet.
But what else are you going to bring to the community? How are you going to be doing that? How?
It's gonna. I think it's gonna. What we first want to do is that we need to develop a blueprint. Let's say for health. What do we need to show that make this a healthy community? What do we do for education, and what do we do for economic development? I actually think I can merge economic development and education very quickly, because to me the purpose of education
is economic development.
And so if I were to frame the question, is that how do we ensure that every child born in this county can be successful by the age of 24, for himself or herself, or for his or her family? And that means they have to have the education, the curiosity, and the life skills to be able to do those things that move themselves forward through their life and their children's lives, and their families' lives. And so I said, how do we do that? So what I do is I take a child from 0, even prenatal, because obviously prenatal care is important.
Yes, it is.
For health. But as you go from 0 to 24, what are the benchmarks that we can identify that are absolutely critical for that person to stay on track to be successful? We don't do that very well. And so let's go back. I mean, one of the ones that would be classic is obviously you need to graduate from high school. Right now we have, I think, around 33 to 34% of people in this county don't even have a high school education.
You need health checkups. You need dentists.
Absolutely.
You need,
That's one. And then what other extracurricular activities they do during middle school? What's the math scores at 4th grade? What's the literacy? Are you meeting the literacy at 3rd grade? I mean, there's benchmarks all the way through.
Absolutely. And I'm sorry, I was tying in the health thing too.
No, and you are. It's there. But what you can do is you build on it. But each one should be a blueprint. And then what happens is that we as individuals, we as organizations say, whatever I do, I have to impact one of those benchmarks. If we all start aligning ourselves to those benchmarks and we all become aligned, then there's synergy, there's power with all of us working together to a common vision. And that common vision for that one I just said was the success of our children.
Now, do people look at you and go, but Flip, we can't do that?
Yeah, that doesn't bother me. Because I think what they've done immediately is put on the blinders and they're asking, how do you do that? And that's not the issue. The issue, I love the Nike thing, just do it.
Just do it.
And we're going to get there, it's going to change, it's going to morph, it doesn't matter. But the first issue is we have to have a common vision. And we never really have had that discussion in this city, and we need to have that, and so that's what we're starting to do. And I'm actually getting your husband Dan and a couple other people, and we're talking about how do we create a common vision, how do we bring people together and say, what do you want this community to look like?
Right.
Haven't had that quite. You've had it with power groups, or maybe people who are making decisions.
Well, and you've always said, what do you want this community not to look like? It's
Yeah.
never been what do you want it to look like.
Yeah.
And I think that they're
What are the
obviously,
possibilities?
yeah, they're very similar questions, but I think that they result in very different, just thought processes. And you know, you have one, like as you said, with the blinders on, and one, okay, well, let's just think about it and open up the possibilities.
Yeah, if you deal with problems and that mindset of, oh, what we don't want it to look like, here's the problem.
Right.
Well, you fix the problem because that's what we're all good at. That's what we were modeled. But all you've done is tweak it and you put it into a future state. The problem is still there. Whereas if you look at the possibilities, whole different mindset, whole different action, because now you're working toward something that you want of a future state. And so we even do our things wrong. And so if you look at the models that all the systems use right now, it's really, really archaic and outmoded. And we need to change all those. And so I would hope that people who are in systems and managing those systems start understanding they need to change stuff because it's not working.
You've changed a lot. You've had a very positive impact, I think, on Merced the past 6 years. And you're retiring in
Well, I'm not going to
December.
retire. I want to pull back from the management and day-to-day stuff. I am going to be absolutely involved in the convening and bringing people together because I love the dialogue.
Right.
And out of the dialogue, I love creating the action plan. And sometimes we have all this dialogue,
but no action.
No action. And I think that's probably the biggest problem we've had. But before you have action, sometimes we're too quick to get the action. So you almost need that, I always say that why, ask why 5 times. And if you do that, then you're going to get down to a real issue.
You are.
And so that's what we haven't done very well, is get down to the root causes. But once we get that, then we can move forward and start coming up with, I think, some very good convenings and brainstorming. There's amazing wisdom in this community. They all want this to be a good community. They want this to be a safe community. Safety and education are 2 issues I've heard the most when I talk to neighborhoods and residents.
And when you say safety, what are the concerns then as far as safety? I mean, is Merced a bad place to live? Is
No. Well, I think everybody likes to be safe. We're certainly a pain-adverse creature. But safety can even be the issue of the mental state of mind of as you walk to school. Is do you have a safe place to walk where there's lights or there's sidewalks? If you don't, bad on us for not building that environment to be able to create that safety. So, I mean, even that issue is when you talk about gangs, that's too quick of a problem. And it says, why do we have gangs? I mean, you got to start drilling down. I mean, maybe they dropped out of school. Well, why they drop out of school? There's nothing to do. It doesn't make sense. So they teach them.
Their after-school activities.
They're after school. Yeah. Right. How do we? I mean, you have to drill down and say, okay, here's finally what we can take action on. And we just haven't done that very well. It's real quick. And the other issue I think is that people need to participate. If there's problems in their community or in their neighborhoods, they need to report it, or work together as a neighborhood to talk to the neighbor that may be causing something, and maybe they're just totally unaware. Maybe they're having loud parties at all. They're having a great time, but Maybe people like to, but maybe people like to sleep. So that, but the people need to talk about that. Now, if it becomes maybe a dangerous situation, yeah, you call the police. But the police aren't there to do all these things that we keep asking them to do. I mean, well, can you go talk to this guy because I don't want to do it?
Right.
Just do it for me. No. We need to be in strong partnership with our police department. Police are there to catch bad guys. We need to be responsible for keeping our neighborhoods safe. And that's a hard one to get because people, especially people who don't feel they have power or disenfranchised, are scared of repercussions. But we got to get past that because that's exactly why third world and fourth world countries stay where they are because they don't take the action. Of course, now we're seeing action taken.
Oh yeah,
in Syria,
right.
and that's scary. But they finally came to a point.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't want to, but I don't want to see revolution here. So I think there's ways in which we can amicably address the issues that we have. But to do that, you create the safe space. So, good stuff.
Yeah, very good stuff.
And when you talk to people, you won't believe how passionate people are about it.
Oh, I believe it. Yeah. I believe it. I you know, it's been in my experience, and you know, I haven't been here for very long, but it's.
But I'm glad you're here. I love it.
Well, thank you. I love it too.
You got great energy.
I love it too. No, I really do. I love Merced, and I've grown very passionate about Merced, and I think that is one of the. That's why I love you so much, because one of my frustrations with this community is that there's a whole lot of talk and just simply not a lot of do.
Yeah.
And and that's what I, like I said, love about you. You're harnessing the passion, and you're harnessing, and you're you know, basically developing these action plans, which is great, and people are able to follow them. But nothing frustrates me more than people either, well, there's nothing we can do about it, or well, this is what we should do. It's like, well, why aren't you doing it then?
Yeah, see,
do it.
What happened, the way we modeled our culture and our community, is the fact that we allowed the education system, and so we created a system to teach our kids and educate our kids. To where before long they said, we'll educate your kids, we'll just do it ourselves, we'll do it for you. So we said, oh, okay, and the healthcare did the same thing. The legal system did the same thing. And so what they've done is they've enabled us to turn our backs. We've abdicated our responsibility as residents and citizens of this country. Oh, well, they're doing it, I don't have to worry about it, so I go over here. And what's happening is it's just crumbled because it doesn't work that way. It takes all of us working together to raise this child to a productive human being, to help our communities. Same thing with how do you keep the neighborhood safe? I have to take responsibility, but what we've done, said, oh, they're going to take care of it. And we've fallen into that trap, and that's killing us. And so we have got to get back to where we are involved. And you probably heard me say it before, but community building is just like democracy. It takes participation if it's going to work. And that's what we have to understand. It takes participation by everybody. Otherwise, don't complain.
Right. So. Yeah. Good stuff. Good stuff. So you've been here since '63.
Yep.
What were you doing before you became executive director of United Way? How did you get into that?
Yeah. I actually, I've had many careers. I last 4 years, maybe 5 at the outset. This is the longest I've ever been in a job, with the exception of my coaching, which I've coached for 40 plus years, and has always been my love. I started in coaching, swimming and water polo, diving, and baseball would be all the ones, but mostly it's been swimming and water polo. Okay. But I think I've probably at one time coached maybe half of this town in aquatics.
Everybody knows you.
And it's because I think of the coaching and because I'm just out there. I like people, you know.
People like you.
Yeah, well, because I like them. I think it's that relationship, and it's. I find people just absolutely amazing. I love listening to what people say, and sometimes I go, really? But that's okay, because if you don't understand and appreciate the diversity of where people are coming from, you're not learning.
Absolutely.
And so I do that, but I did water polo, and I've done that for 40 plus years, and I was very successful as a coach. And so that was kind of my claim to fame, so to speak. But I've been a stockbroker, I've been an insurance.
Stockbroker?
Yeah, I did that with the old Payne Weber, which is now I think UBS.
Are you serious?
Yeah, I learned a ton, it was great. Wow. But I just didn't like it. And so I moved on, but I learned a ton, so I was a learning thing.
What didn't you like about it?
Oh, I just felt it was more manipulated than I wanted.
Okay. Yeah, because stockbroker, nonprofit.
Yeah, I know. But you know what's nice is of all the things I've done, from stockbroker, insurance, I've taught, I've been a city councilman. I was on the JPA when we had the base closure. I've worked on major campaigns. And I've got a foot or had experience in the faith-based groups, in the profit, the nonprofit, the private sector. I've been in all of them. And so it gives me a great perspective.
Yes, it does.
And it also gives me a great contacts, because I still have relationships in each of those sectors, and good relationships. So it's really easy for me to come in and non-threatening. And I think that's what I look at the Success for United Way. And what we've done with my team is we really focused on being the convener and being a neutral convener, because I think, and people trust us because of that. If I had a bias, too many things, I may have my own personal biases, but when I bring together, it's usually open for everybody to talk about.
Right. Yeah.
And if somebody wants to say something that I disagree with, I'm still going to let them say it, because that's all part of the process.
And then you're going to say, that's bullshit.
I might.
You will. I've heard you. That's why I love you so much.
But what happens is that it's in a way in which we can disagree,
right,
but continue on, and still, even when you disagree, what happens is either because of the context, but if you keep going down, you're going to find common ground.
Absolutely.
And that's where you have to start building our community. So what's our common ground? Children is one of our common grounds. And so those are some of the things I'm trying to build up on. Yeah.
Okay, so stockbroker, and then you said insurance agent?
Oh, let's see. I did some of that. I did some teaching while I was still coaching during that time. I actually then went and started, I worked for the county for 4 years.
And what did you do for the county?
I worked at the CalWorks program.
Okay.
And that's with cash aid and eligibility for TANF, which is
okay. Oh, yeah. Right. Okay.
Yeah, Medicare, Cal, and then workforce investment. And then I also did. I actually started the MCMC Hospital Foundation back in the old days.
Did you?
Which now is merged with Dignity Health.
Yes.
And that, but I actually helped write that up way back when. And then right before I got to being the executive director, I was a plant nurse for an HR person and for Owens, Illinois, up in Tracy. And so I did all the paramedic stuff that you had to do for people, because we were in a glass plant.
Yeah.
So I had major burns, amputations,
How did you get that? How did you get that job?
I got, who knows? I think if somebody just said, Flipper, you're just doing this, so they knew I had my EMT and all the other trainings I had with first aid and stuff. And so, and I was good with people, so it was HR and right. So they just said, oh, here, perfect. So I did that for about 4 or so years.
Wow.
And then I had, of all my sports, because I was very active, I had to get a hip replacement. And so while I was recovering back here, that I said, hey, there's a job coming up in United Way. And I was commuting from here to Tracy. I don't ever want to do that again.
No.
I don't know how people do it. God bless them. But it is not fun.
No, I was commuting to Rockland.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Ooh.
yeah, and yeah, exactly. No, I would not wish that on my worst enemy. So
and then if there's an accident in any one of those places,
you're boned. Yeah, you're stuck for like
so
3 hours.
You have no community life and certainly very limited family life.
Yes.
So like, can I see the kids do a play at school, or you just can't do any of that.
Yeah.
So I really was struggling with that, and then all of a sudden this came up, and I said absolutely, and I've been very blessed. It's been fun.
That's great.
So, yeah.
Wow. And so you're still going to, when you retire, pseudo-retire.
Yeah.
When you pseudo-retire, you're still going to have a hand in it, though.
Oh, absolutely.
It's just going to be more still.
I want to get my hands dirty. I want to get back and do the things I love, and that's working with the people and putting those plans together. And I'm more of that entrepreneur who's just going like this, don't think it all the way out. So I need all the people behind me to really clean up my mess. But I think when we put this together, if I put those people together in the first place, that plan coming out is going to be magnificent. And so that's what I want to do, is being able to give that to the community and say, okay, where do you fit in? Because there's an opportunity for everybody to fit in. So I'm looking forward to that. I really am.
That's great. That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, okay, so all of this different experience. Now, you were telling me the other day about some, I don't know, bar or something that you used to. Did you use to frequent or work or what?
I actually worked for the Cardoza family.
The Cardoza family.
Which was Mulligan's.
Okay.
And I ran that for a while.
Okay.
4 years, I think, or so. I think Dan was in there a whole bunch.
4 years.
Yeah,
4
that's
years.
what I said. I lasted 4 years, and I said, I gotta get out of here. I gotta do something else. I get bored. So, but I had a great time on it, and I still see some of the staff that we had there, and we all start chuckling. It was fun. You gotta have fun when you're doing it, and so it was fun.
Where was Mulligan's?
It was on Childs.
Okay.
As you came over the overpass to go toward now Golden Valley.
Yes.
Well, it would be catty corner to Golden Valley.
Okay.
At that time, Golden Valley wasn't there.
Okay.
So this bar, it was a great bar. It was a Western bar, but I tried everything. I tried bands. I tried disc. I tried everything.
What worked? So Western worked?
Well, Western worked probably the best.
Okay.
But other than that, occasionally we'd have other nights and it would be fun. But we had contests going on, and we had pool tables, we had dart boards, we had the arcade stuff. You had the bowling alley just through the other room, and then of course you had a restaurant. So it was a great little complex.
Yeah.
And so it was very successful. And,
of course you were.
Yeah, and so I mean, I even ran some of the different California girls and the boys, and so we had things like that. I was told I had to stop that, so we did that.
Who told you to stop that?
Well, it was basically the family finally said that enough's enough, and I said, okay, but I was making money. That's what they hired me for. But it was okay. I mean, they kind of said, no, we don't want to do that. So I said, okay.
All right.
Yeah.
So did you leave because of family, or did you leave just because?
No, it was. They were closing the bar down. They were selling it.
Okay.
Is what they did at that point in time. So when they did that, all the staff started looking for other jobs and stuff, and I tried to help them where they could there.
Okay.
And it was a great group. And like I said, when we see them, I'm probably going to get something, if not this summer, maybe later next year, and we'll get everybody together for an old reunion.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
I hope I'm invited.
Oh, absolutely. You'll love it. You'll just look at these people and go, they're fun. They were.
Well, they know great. You. Of course they're fun.
No, they were fun.
I don't know. It's all good. I'm coming. I'm good. There. I want my invitation or ticket or whatever. Yeah. So what do you see yourself doing then besides, still facilitating and almost, being this, Sherpa type person after you step down from the nitty-gritty everyday thing? What else do you want to do?
Travel. Kathy and I, we just went down the Grand Canyon, had a ball rafting, and that I think spurred us. There's all sorts of trips. Kathy has never been to the Southwest where I grew up before I came here.
And where was that?
We were in New Mexico.
New Mexico.
But Chaco Canyon, Blanca Canyon, Mesa Verde, monuments.
You lived in Roswell.
That's where I lived.
You lived in Roswell?
I lived in Roswell. Walker Air Force Base.
Are you serious?
Did we date? Sorry, Dan.
Oh my God, that's so funny.
When were you there?
Well, I was there in the 70s. When were you there?
Oh, we were here. We were there in late 60s.
Okay, so
early 60s.
Okay, early 60s. Okay,
yeah, because we came here in '63.
Okay.
We came from Roswell.
because you've been there. Yeah. No, we were in Roswell.
That was with NMMI, which is the New
Mexico
Military
NIMI.
Institute. Yeah.
Yeah. My aunt taught there for many, many years. Retired as an English teacher at NIMI.
Wow. And so I did that, but the Southwest is an amazing place.
Yeah, it is. It's beautiful.
And I'm taking up photography, and so I can do trips with photography. I'll take my golf clubs too.
Yes.
But we want to go there. We want to go up to the Inland Passage in Alaska. We want to do the trip up to Vancouver, to Banff, Yellowstone. Yeah. The West has such amazing national parks.
It really does, and I think the history too.
Amazing.
Yeah.
So that's what we're looking forward to.
That's awesome.
And of course, grandkids.
And grandkids.
We got 2 little twins that are now 3, just kicking the butt.
Yes.
So that's going to be fun to be grandparents. And I got a grandson, Joseph, who's 15. And so I'm teaching him golf, and he's a great little basketball player and good athlete. So,
that's great.
Yeah.
That's great.
So it's going to be fun.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm jealous. So what would you like your legacy to be with United Way?
I guess just know that I was instrumental in making them go to the next step. Because I think it's an ongoing journey, and I think that the United Way has such a great opportunity to really be right in the middle to bring people together. I really look at it because if you look at most organizations, well intended, but what happens, they have to worry about selling themselves, so it becomes provincial, and so it's all about, well, what kind of credit do we get? And I understand that, But there comes a time when we need to say what's more important, the organization's reputation or the value of the community.
Right,
And so if we can just break down that, and there are some people inside each of those, what I need to do is identify those people to bring them together, because I think that's what's going to happen, getting those shining lights to come together, those kindred souls to make it happen, because otherwise, like I said, we're going to be siloed. It's like, I've told you, so it's like herding feral cats from behind. Good God, they're all over the place.
Yes.
We're not aligned.
Yes.
And I think so. If my legacy is, if I can get people to understand that alignment process, then I'll be ecstatic, because then those people who will then take on and move forward are going to even do more than what I've done.
I'm going to ask you, your PR person is going to go, don't answer it. Don't answer it. Are you concerned about when you leave, as far as, just everything that you have, taught your employees, really taught the community, really bringing this together? And I know that you're not getting out, but are you concerned that everything that you've built, is it kind of like...
It is, but I think you got to, it's just like having a child. And I've nurtured, I think, very well. And I've got a great team.
You do.
You do. I can look at 12 people who give more and put more, that people don't understand what they've given to this community.
Well, in a day than most people put in,
in
a month. Yeah,
and so
I get that.
I'm comfortable, scared, just like a parent would be, that what will happen. I don't know, but I can't control that. But I do know that the team I have in place, I think, has amazing capabilities. And so I trust them. And so that's what I go with. And I'm going to be around, but I trust them, and who knows what the growth is. But it's almost like this is your child, and you're now letting him, as 18, the boundaries are expanded. And you hope to God you've given them enough of the value. And I think I have. They expound it pretty well, because they're the ones that are doing most of the talking in the community. And I'm very proud of them, because I get great feedback all the time. Does that make sense?
It makes complete sense.
Okay.
Total sense. Yeah, no, and I'm glad that you were honest.
Yeah.
I'm glad you didn't have the message triangle. These are my 3 points.
Yeah,
that's why I had you on.
Yeah.
Because I knew that you'd be straight up with me. Thank you.
No, that's good.
So I'm going to pull the James Lipton. I'm going to do the behind the actress studio here. And I'm going to ask you the questions. I'm going to say, so if you weren't the executive director of the United Way of Merced, what would you be right now? If
I didn't have the opportunity,
what would you be right now?
If I'd go back to my first love, which is my coaching. Yeah, I was lucky enough. I was the national coach for the United States, women's water polo. I actually helped start the whole international program for women.
Did you know that?
And I was recognized and put into the USA Hall of Fame in water polo for that, and recognized for starting international competition for women.
Lord, Flip.
And my team actually won the first World Cup. So I've been very blessed.
Well, you can't even say that. You've already done that. What would be your dream thing?
I would developing kids, because I think sports can, if you get good coaches who understand that sports gives you every life lesson you need to know to be successful, from discipline to understanding failure, but getting up and trying again. Good God, if you looked at the Olympics the last 2 days, and the little gal Jordan in the Olympics, she was crushed. Stupid rule, that life's not fair.
Right.
And she was crushed, but then she bounced right back up. What a lesson! And that's what we need to understand more. Is those are lessons that sports can give you that no other arena I know can give you.
Absolutely.
And everything from discipline to responsibility, even honoring your opponents, which I sometimes look at coaches and say you got to beat the other person's an enemy. No, you honor the game, you honor the opponent, because the game and the interaction is what gives you your identity. And so if without them, you wouldn't be you.
Right.
And so I would be in sports. I would maybe put together a sports academy. If I were to think of something I'd love to do, is maybe a sports academy where you can give skill sets and teach kids all the different skills, and they can choose what sport they want to go into. So maybe I would do when you throw. You look at girls don't get taught to throw very well, so you have all these throwing motions. But you could do a color belt, so when you have throwing, you get the notches, then you go to a new belt. And you can do that with probably a lot of different physical activities, from serving in tennis, golf swinging. There's a whole bunch of things.
That's great.
But teaching kids spatial awareness, and at the same time, I think the big thing is let's understand health and nutrition. And activity is absolutely essential. You can't just keep going in and doing video games. I think they're important, but if that's the case and the video game is the issue, then let's do something to where outside the video game can capture the moment.
Good point.
So there's ways we can do that. So, I mean, so I'm being an entrepreneur again, but I think those are things that could be really fun.
That's great.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, what would be like the worst job in the world for you?
Doing something that just is supporting clerical meaningless to me. I would die. I mean, I'm not used to just doing something on a repetitious basis. It would just drive me crazy. I would just go crazy.
Okay. And what's your favorite swear word?
Effitt.
You gotta say it.
Oh, I don't know about that.
Say it. It means bucket.
That's the one.
Okay, good. All right. Okay. And if you do, see, I'm totally James Lipton right now because I wanted to ask these questions. So
Yeah.
if you do believe that there's a God, and when you go up to heaven, what will be the first thing that is said to you when you get to the pearly gates?
Hey, we got these kids that need some help. If you get over
Thank you so much,
You're
Flip,
welcome.
for coming on. Awesome. So,
Good.
oh my gosh, this was like one of the, well, it's number 3, but
We're getting
you're
there.
my favorite guest.
Thanks,
so
kiddo.
far.
It was
Yeah,
good seeing
sorry,
you.
Chente. Good seeing you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
kiddo.
you.